We got the major Mock Draft Monday vibes on the latest edition of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Steele and I are going round for round, blow by blow, through another on-air Mock Draft Monday to make sure you are ready for the upcoming draft season. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome back inside the hockey lab that you need to be paying attention to. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, Monday edition, bringing you all of the mock draft fire that you need to prepare yourself for these upcoming fantasy drafts. Shout out to the everydayers holding us down, making us your first listen every single day. Even though these mock drafts, Steele, are hectic for both of you and I, they are hugely beneficial, I hope, to not only us, but definitely our listeners. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Steele, we're going to get hot and heavy in a hot second, so I'm going to throw it over to you to bring us back in from the draft. But fourth spot, I'm going in the 12th spot, 12-team league. You and I usually do it by categorical. There's been a little bit of a hot topic conversation going on in the comments lately about what leagues are better. You and I love multi-cat leagues, straight-up point leagues. Maybe I'll just turn it over to you. But we got the draft loading. You're at 4, I'm at 12, and we're going to be going round by round.
Look, we're fantasy hockey community on this podcast. Obviously, that's what we do here, and we're a fan of all different fantasy hockey leagues. I know you're in a bunch of keeper leagues. You know, I just started getting into keeper dynasty leagues over the last couple of seasons. I'm only in one keeper league. I'm heading into my third year right now. Obviously, there's a big difference when you talk about head-to-head categorical or head-to-head fantasy points or just keeper leagues in general. Keeper leagues, you know, you have multiple options of how you play things, whether you want to immediately try to go for a championship right away, or do you want to play the long-term game, start looking at some of the younger prospects and younger players in the league and start playing, again, looking at the long-term of your fantasy hockey team moving forward. When you do head-to-head categories or head-to-head fantasy points, it's legitimately just championship or bust. That's what you're playing for. That's what you do. And that's what I like. That's what I enjoy more. But we've been getting some comments. We've been getting some heat on the YouTube channel about which one's better. Look, it's all fun and games. It's all to have fun out there. Yes, obviously you're trying to win and you're trying to take home the prize, take home the pool money, if you will. But regardless, we're out here to have fun and have a good time in this fantasy hockey league, in the fantasy hockey community. And that's what Flip and I do, baby.
Some of us are trying to also get a little bit of money, Steele. However,
that too.
For you and I in the listener league, not exactly panned out over the last couple of seasons. However, formats or otherwise, what you and I are trying to do is break down what players make sense per round. And yes, there are going to be some discrepancies based on your formats, but that's when you also need to be imploring your own research. And I think what Steele is trying to say, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, my friend, is it's for you. Fantasy hockey, especially, is for enjoyment and entertainment. And this is an Uncle Flip's advice hour. But what I do want to say about this, Steele, is whatever suits you, your money, your budget, your style, your approach, that's what you do. Don't let anyone influence you in the fantasy game. Just let the Locked On Fantasy boys point you in the right direction, which is what we're going to do on today's episode, Steele. And here we go. It's going to go fast and furious. Over to you at the 4 spot, and I'm excited to hear who you're going to go at.
Look, it's my boy right here, Auston Matthews, at the number 4 position. That's who I'm going with, filling out that center spot. And look, sometimes it's best to put that homer biased opinion away when it comes to fantasy leagues. But when you talk about Auston Matthews, top five fantasy pick, it doesn't matter that I'm a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. He is going to be a top 5 fantasy pick in almost every single, if not every single fantasy league.
Agreed.
So it doesn't matter that I'm a Leafs fan. You got to take Auston Matthews in that position at number 4. He could definitely go 3 or 5, but that, again, they're interchangeable at that point. But yeah, Auston Matthews filling out that first center position for myself.
This is exactly how I expect almost every single draft to go, Steele. McDavid 1, McKinnon 2, Kucherov 3, Auston
Yeah,
Matthews 4, Leon Draisaitl 5, and David Pastrnak 6. I could almost lock in those 6 as me being comfortable with how
very
it
comfortable.
should go. And then after that, we got Panarin going, Makar. Those make sense. I think both of those make sense. But I just wanted to say, lock in those first 6 that we just reeled off.
How do you
I'm up
feel
at
about William Nylander at 9, though, or at 10? That's a little high.
It's a little high, but here we go with me at 12. I love a snake draft. So now I get to reel off 2. Matthew Tkachuk at 12. He's mine. I'm going to take him. And now I got a couple of intriguing options. Kaprizov, Jack Hughes. Those are the 2 names that I think jump to the top. But I'm just going to go back-to-back Tkachuk brothers. Steele.
Oh, I love
and
that.
I think that's absolutely amazing value. And now I'm covered categorically. I might need to now reload in the offensive elite upside area while I can. But back-to-back Tkachuk brothers, I'm feeling nice with that situation.
Yeah, that fills out the peripherals, hits, hits, shots on goal. You're going to get some offensive touch from both Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk. Obviously, a lot better for Matthew Tkachuk in the assist category, but you're going to get the power play points and 2 absolute studs on the offensive zone. And I believe if we look at your team, do they have dual eligibility? Yeah, Brady Tkachuk has.
Yes, they do. Both of them do.
And Tkachuk has left wing, right wing. So those are 2 great options right there in a snake draft. If you can get them at that 12 and 13 spot, because they have the dual eligibility where you can play both those positions. And of course, they fill out the peripheral categories that I love to do. So that's actually a great back-to-back pick right there. Getting both Tkachuk brothers. Absolutely great. I'm back here on the clock. Elias Pettersson, Roman Josi, and Quinn Hughes just went. There's a lot of great names out there. Sidney Crosby, I could get my second centerman. Zach Hyman's got that dual eligibility as well.
Yeah.
Lots of great names out here. I think I'm going to go for the dual eligibility in Zach Hyman right now. Again, continuing to play with Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. Probably a small regression from Zach Hyman in the goal department, but he's still going to fill out those peripherals, and he's still going to get you some power play points out there. The plus-minus category is definitely something that not a lot of people have on their squad, but I'm definitely a fan of the plus.
Some leagues, some leagues for sure.
Leagues, I've had it in multiple leagues. I'm a fan of it, so Zach Hyman's definitely going to be kicking it up in that category as well.
It's hard to expect a player like Zach Hyman to repeat what he did. However, considering he led the NHL in playoff goal scoring as well, everything's indicating that it's going in that direction once again. He's just also on the best team in the NHL and definitely one of the most dangerous offensively. You're back on the board. Hit me with your next pick, and we'll get to break in a couple of minutes here and continue with our mock draft Monday. We're going to break down the top goalies. Check that out. That was last week, Steele. We're on Monday now. Fantasy draft prep is in full swing. It's on you, brother. Who you going with?
Yeah, I went with a little bit of a reach when we're talking about the Yahoo ranking system right here, the expert ranks. But I went with Rasmus Dahlin. He was ranked at 45th from experts on Yahoo. I took him at the 28th position. He's a stud defenseman. He's going to fill out the peripheral categories, like you said, projection-wise. 19 goals, 51 assists. He's going to have a monster season. We like what's going on in Buffalo. When we did our top 5 fantasy targets for the Buffalo Sabres, we described them as a fantasy gold mine. Lots of pieces to love about them. A lot of breakout candidates, JJ Peterka, Zach Benson, potentially Jack Quinn, Bowen Byram on the blue line, potentially. So that's a fantasy gold mine. Rasmus Dahlin has definitely got to be considered one of the best fantasy defensemen in the league right now.
I was already targeting him. I want an elite defenseman on my team, and he is an excellent pick, Steele. There's a few players that we've talked about on the blue line. While I take what I want to do here, I'm looking at the blue line. Hedman available, Fox available, Sergachev available. I'm going to go with old reliable Adam Fox. I'm back on the board. You and I have talked about this, Steele. And this isn't rocket science. You want to balance it out. Even if there are elite options there, take a look around and try and balance out your squad. I got Tkachuk, both Tkachuks. I got dual eligibility. Now I got a D-man. My inclination would be to take a goaltender. I know everyone's waiting and waiting. There's a huge come-up coming from Nashville, and
5
I
seconds.
want UC Saros.
There you
Look,
go.
This
Good
Nashville
pick.
team is going to be sensational, and they are good back to front, and I understand waiting. And now we are in here, just entered the 4th round, so I get a lot of GMs would maybe wait another round, but I went with Saros. I'm trying to get comfortable here, Steele. I'm not taking a risk on losing out on an elite goaltender, but that's just me. We'll get to the rest of the mock draft, your picks, my steals, all after this. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Gametime is the app that you need to be getting all of the tickets in your area for your favorite events. And they have a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets to your favorite live events even easier. Gametime, make sure you're checking it out. All in pricing. Make sure you check out the panoramic view from your seat, from the app before you buy. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Make sure you are getting it in, LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to hit the subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. We appreciate all that love and support you show us Monday through Friday. Make sure your second listen also is the Locked On NHL Podcast. Locked On NHL provides you with a national perspective on all things NHL each and every day, with national experts and local insight on every team. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Getting right back into the Monday mock draft special number 2 flip.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
break down some of the picks that we just got into for our personal teams right now. During the ad read, I ended up drafting Wyatt Johnston. He has that dual eligibility, center and right wing position. I also went out and drafted Joel Eriksson Ek for that second center position as well. So I do have 3 centermen. He fills out those peripheral categories. You know I love talking about that. You know I love Minnesota Wild fans. And I just said maybe stay away from trying to be the biased homer and picking those players that you from your favorite hockey team. But in that position, in the 5th round, Joel Eriksson Ek is a great pick because he's going to continue to fill out those peripheral, get the power play points, as well as play with that stud over there, Kirill Kaprizov.
Hey, Joel Eriksson Ek I put him on the list with Banger League beauties, Vincent Trocheck, both of the Tkachuks, guys that just bring a little bit of everything. So I'm loving your team. I'm a little bit jealous already, but honestly, we're shaping up here for 2 really good mock drafts.
Yes, we are.
Let me just recap. So I mentioned after getting both the Tkachuks, and then I went for Saros. I went for Adam Fox. I think I needed a little bit of an offensive punch. So I went with Timmy Stutz. And he's got dual eligibility, and he brings hits. And I'm just really high on Noah Dobson. And I took Noah Dobson here in the 7th round, Steele. And that might be a little bit high. There was a couple of other names there, Josh Morrissey, Dougie Hamilton, and Sergachev. I actually like Sergachev and Hamilton quite a bit. I'm wary of the Jets this year, Steele, and Morrissey. So
I think you have to be.
I could have gone with either of those 2. I know you're back on the board here, but I really like that I went with Noah Dobson. I'm sticking to my guns on him, even though the Islanders are a bit of an offensive dud. We love that player. Who are you going to? And I think you can back me up, though. Stützle, Dobson. Those are 2 solid picks here at this point.
Great picks at that point in the draft. You know, this is a position where I'm being a little bit hesitant on where I want to go next. You know, I'm trying to implement that 0G strategy of letting goaltenders fall down the draft board, and you can get them in later stages. I'm trying to look at some offensive defensemen right now. Dougie Hamilton was my next pick. I hope that he comes back fully healthy, fully ready to go. 82 games. This New Jersey Devil team is going to be a very dangerous team in the Metropolitan Division. Projected for 18 goals, 41 assists. He's also going to fill out those peripheral categories. Quarterback the first power play unit, get some hits and a lot of blocks in there. So Dougie Hamilton is my second defenseman right there behind Rasmus Dahlin.
Totally respect, though, what you're trying to do with the goaltenders. And look, I rolled the dice last year and I invested in goaltenders early. I believe I took Stuart Skinner, and I took a couple of other guys, Aiden Hill. look, Stuart Skinner had his struggles. Aiden Hill got hurt. I got burned taking a couple of goalies early, and that's when the 0G, shout out to Apples and Genos, it does work. Don't get me wrong, and I totally
100%.
respect that angle. I guess just what I'm trying to do with my own team, and, I maybe reached a little on UC Saros. The Nashville Predators are one of the most improved teams in the league, and they are going to win a lot of games. UC Saros is nasty. All I need to know is now I have to wait. So I'm going to do that for my second goaltender. I'm loving my team. You're back on the board here, Steele, and I'm excited to know where you're looking.
Well, if you look at the screen right here, it's actually your boy, Seth Jarvis, on my screen. I'm going to reach on him a little bit where he's ranked 85th.
Here we go.
I'm taking him at the 76th position right now, but just everything that you've talked about over the last couple of seasons with this player, I have bought into Seth Jarvis. I'm liking the top line of the Carolina Hurricanes team. The projections as well. He's going to fill out the peripheral categories. He's actually quite physical for such a young player as well. 120 hits, 115 hits last year. He's going to continue to grow. He's a sniper. He's a playmaker. He does it all for this Hurricanes team, right behind Sebastian Aho. Absolutely love this player. So he comes in and fills out that second right wing position for my team.
I don't even need to say another thing, Steele, because you know how happy I am about this take, and I have sold you on this player, but for good reason, and he's just getting comfortable. And you can buy into the angles of contract years, really motivating players. He is a young guy that I think is going to be now more motivated by securing the bag and knowing he isn't going anywhere and exploding. So, by the way, this is a league: 2 centers, 2 left wing, 2 right wing, 4 D, 2 goalies, and 4 bench spots. We might not get to breaking down our bench spots. I just wanted to throw this out there, Steele. And I alluded to it before, and it should be common practice for any GM out there, especially in these leagues where it's kind of like 2-2-2 and there's not too many lineup holes. You got to be balancing it out. So right now, I don't have any right wingers on the board. Options: Kane, Hagel, DeBrincat, Tuck, Lucas Raymond. I am just going to continue with what we think about Alexis Lafreniere. I don't want another GM to have him, Steele. I've been talking about breakout. We've been talking
he's
about
on my list.
I'm taking him now.
Great pick.
Those player that I just said ahead of him might be safer, but I'm reading into the upside, and I'm taking Alexis Lafreniere, and he does have dual eligibility. After that, I'm going back to the blue line, Steele. Forsling, Heiskanen, Uyghur, Morgan Riley. I just answered my question. I'm taking my boy Miro Heiskanen, and I think that's a little bit of a slip, Steele, that he's made it all the way to the 8th round. He is one of the best D-men in the league.
That's the thing with Miro Heiskanen for me. He is one of the best young defensemen in the league right now, but I'm not sure it quite transitions over to the fantasy league. I do think being in this 8th round right now is definitely where Miro Heiskanen should be going, maybe the 7th. But when you look at the peripherals, and let me get this up on the board for Miro Heiskanen. He definitely felt, he's okay. The offensive production of what his projection is for, again, he's going to get 60 plus points, but still, the peripherals are a little bit to be desired when you talk about the star defenseman that this player is for this Dallas Stars team. Not enough physicality, not enough shots on goal, in my opinion. I don't think the greatness translates just yet over to the fantasy realm. So Miro Heiskanen, for me, definitely falls down that board a little bit, but still a great pick at the 8th round. But I'm loving the shape of your team as well. There's lots of great players out still. I'm back up on the clock.
Here we go.
And a lot of my players have just been taken. I was looking at filling out that last left wing position. I still don't have a goaltender. I still have 2 defensive spots right now.
Ooh, no goaltender. Interesting. You're getting real spicy. I like it.
Real spicy. I think I'm going to continue to fill out those peripheral categories and get Mackenzie Weegar as my 3rd defenseman. He fills out 189 hits, over 200 shots, over 40 plus points, and he still gets them done on the power play. So I'm loving my team right now. I'm filling out the peripherals. I've got the
That's
offense,
how you and I are degenerates. Every time we do this, we just love our team.
We love our team.
Yeah.
Last year, but that's the thing is when we did our draft last year, our legitimate drafts, I was not a fan of how my team. Yeah, it was a mess for us. I wasn't loving my goaltending out there. I wasn't liking my blue line as well. There was a lot of iffy picks with some with some, reaches as well and some young players, which I'm definitely not going to be doing again. I think this is a position where I have to draft my first goaltender. We're getting a little bit slim out here. Jordan Binnington, Darcy Kemper, a lot to love. I'm actually going to go with Darcy Kemper in this position. I think we can see a little bit of a bounce back year from this goaltender. A lot to like on the blue line still. They have mixed it up over the last couple of seasons, but they still have Doughty. They've got Gavrikov, Spence, Edmondson, Anderson, and Brandt Clark getting brought up too. So I'm going to go with Darcy Kemper. He's the number one. David Riddick's going to back him up most likely. And that's who I'm going with as my first goaltender. I probably could have gone with Jordan Binnington, but there's still a few more options out there for sure.
Take us to the break in a hot minute here. Luke Hughes taking 99th overall. As much as I love it, feels early. Be wary there. Also, Anthony Stolarz was just taken 103rd over goaltenders like UPL, Binnington, Logan Thompson, Joey Decord. That's bold, especially a guy like Philip Gustafsson, Steele. All of those goaltenders that I just mentioned, I am going with Philip Gustafsson as my next pick. And maybe I could have waited. Maybe I could have taken Binnington. Maybe I could have taken some others. Philip Gustafsson is the least challenged for that number one spot. Binnington has Hoffer. UPL has Devin Levi. Philip Gustafsson is the guy. Even though Fleury is still there, this is the man. So now I got both my goaltenders. I got 3 out of 4 D-men. I want to take another forward here, Steele, so I'm going to go back to the right wingers. Take us to break right after I select another player that I think is on the come up in a big way in Lucas Raymond. Dual eligibility. I'm not even going to say it, Steele. If this team was the one that I had in our listener league, you guys better look at it. Take us to break. Let's finish this bad boy off with a bow.
I was looking at Lucas Raymond next. You'll have to wait until after we come back from break to see who I pick next in this 10th round. We still got a few more selections, our bench players to go with. All of that coming up next and more. So make sure you're staying tuned for all of the mock draft special number 2. And once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to hit the subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. We appreciate all that love and support you show us Monday through Friday. We've been absolutely loving that everyone out there is hitting that subscribe button and viewing all of our content right now. Flip's been killing it on the Instagram account, absolutely killing it on the TikTok and YouTube shorts as well. So thank you, Flip, for doing all of that. We appreciate it out here. Again, if you want to be a part of our Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast Listener League, continue to DM us on Twitter with your information, name, and email, or you can reach out to us on our Instagram account, Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod. DM us wherever you need to. We'll get you on the list, and we'll have all of this finalized for September 20th and ready to go for the draft somewhere in late September, maybe early October. But make sure if you want to be a part of it, DM us there to get onto the list. Flip, I'm looking at some left wingers. I've still got one more defensive spot to go out. I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to go with John Carlson as my last defenseman right now. I actually do like that pick. It might be a little bit of a reach for John Carlson, but I do expect this Caps team, this Washington team, with all of the additions and trades they made this offseason, Logan Thompson, Jacob Chikrin, Andrew Mangiapane, Pierre-Luc Dubois, lots to like with the squad moving forward, just as it translates to goals for and getting that offensive production a little bit back to where it was a few seasons ago. So I think there's definitely a bounce back for this Caps team. There's some goaltenders out here that I need to start looking at. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, I'm back on the clock.
That's your
Connor
boy now.
Ingram, that is my boy. He's projected to have 27 wins, 4 shutouts. Again, this is a fantasy league gold mine in the Buffalo Sabres. Askarov, Talbot, Korpisalo, Charlie Lindgren. I got to go with my boy here, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. I think that's definitely my weak spot right now, but even so, I still like Darcy Kemper and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, UPL, for where I got them in the draft, but definitely the weak spot on my team right now.
But that's just what comes along with waiting. And you have to just be ready to, I'm not saying drafting goaltenders high means you don't have to closely monitor your crease. It just means you definitely are going to have to monitor that crease. So look, My team, I need still one more right winger, and I'm looking at some of these names left, Steele. Lehkonen, Giroux, Zuccarello, Trevor Moore, Jordan Kyrou. None of those players are going to touch triple digits in hits like my boy, Drake Batherson. And this
You
is
love
this
that
is
player.
where Steele, though, look, as much as I love these players, I'm not going to back down from them. Ottawa is going to be a hugely improved team that scores a lot of goals, and he plays in the top six and he brings the peripherals. I don't really need to sell anybody anymore on these guys. They're selling themselves. I'm going back to the blue line. I need one more spot. Jake Sanderson is there, Travis Sanheim. But once again, I'm going with my boy, Harley. This is a darling this year, Steele, headed into NHL fantasy drafts. Thomas Harley can bring it. And once again, why not take him on a team that you're totally buying into in the Dallas Stars? Yes, you could have probably looked at maybe Dmitry Orlov, Bowen Byram, Sean Dursey. To me,
Yeah.
Thomas Harley in that mix at this point here in the 12th round, I am good with selecting him at this spot. Huge upside on a good team.
Very good team. So I don't hate that pick at all. You've got two Dallas Star defensemen, so you're definitely feeling this team once again.
And that might be a bit risky, Steele, so there you go.
It could be a little bit risky for sure. Again, still very young on the blue line for that team, especially those two players. I'm back up on the clock. I need to fill out my last left wing position. But even with that being said, I need to take this player. The fact that Robert Thomas has fallen all the way until the 12th round.
Speaking of sticking to your guns.
Gotta go with Robert Thomas. I can't believe he fell this far. I've got 5 centermen on my team right now, but a few of them have the dual eligibility, so I love that for myself. Again, playmaker, his shot choice and shot making has gone up over the last few seasons. 27 goals. The shooting percentage has gone up. Robert Thomas I can't believe he fell down to the 12th round, so that's an absolute steal for myself.
Yeah. Sure.
And I'm back up on the clock in 2 of these picks, but I'm really liking the shape of my team right now. Again, a lot to be desired for this, a lot to be desired for that goaltender department, but I need to fill out this last pick. My Jeff Skinner was just taken, who was going to fill out that last left wing position. Again, probably could go with Frank Vetrano. Again, great breakout season for him last year. Jared McCann is still out there, who has dual eligibility. Lots of like Tyler Toffoli, San Jose Sharks. I don't know. Trevor Moore. I'm gonna go with and it auto drafted for me. I'm pretty sure. It auto drafted, but it went with Darnell Nurse, so that's fine. That's fine with me. He's a bench player. He's my 5th defenseman off the board right now, so that's okay. But I still have to fill out that last left wing position.
4 bench spots would be the rest of this episode, Steele. Let me just say this. When you are down to the bench spots, that's when you can get a little frisky. That's when you can also definitely look. Thank you, sir. So with names left on the board, Logan Stankoven, Nazem Kadri, those are some very attractive names that you have to start considering. What is your team loaded up on? What do you need? Where are your positional holes that you need to fill? They're all just general fantasy pieces of advice, Steele. I'm just going to let the auto draft go on these last couple of picks because we're already long in the tooth. But over to you, my friend, to wrap this up. If you want to take your last pick, I'm good with it. What I do need to say, though, is I am beyond ready for the puck to drop on this season, and we are still over a month away. But I guess that means lots more fantasy draft prep on this show.
Yeah, we're pumped for the season, but at least, hey, we got NFL to look forward to this weekend as well.
Yes, sir.
Lots to love about week 1 this upcoming week. National Football League is back in session. We're going to be betting on NFL all season long. Of course, we're going to be betting on NHL all season long, but sports are back, baby. Football now, hockey and basketball up next over in the next month. So absolutely can't wait for the puck to drop for the season to start. I'll get my last pick in here before we wrap up this episode. I got that left wing position, Jared McCann. I'm going to go with Jared McCann, the guy for the Seattle right now, projected for a little bit of a bounce back season offensively, but still roughly in that 60 to 65 point realm. Jared McCann is that last left wing position I'm looking at. And then we've got the 2 bench spots. If you want, we can wait and fill those out, but we are getting a little bit long in the tooth right now.
Lineup for me. I'll wrap up mine and then let's finish it off.
Yeah, of course. Starting lineup. Look, this is a great team of mine. This might be the happiest I've ever been in a mock draft ever. I get
Oh,
my boy Auston Matthews. I get my boy Joel Eriksson Ek, Zach Hyman, Jared McCann, Wyatt Johnston, Seth Jarvis. I love my blue line. Rasmus Dahlin, Dougie Hamilton, Mackenzie Weegar, John Carlson, and
solid.
then my two goaltenders, Darcy Kemper and UPL. Again, a little bit to be desired there, but I still feel very comfortable with where I got them in the draft. And
Okay.
then my bench players, Robert Thomas, Darnell Nurse, and I actually took Connor Ingram as a third string goaltender, which I like that a lot for my second last pick.
Little security blanket there. I think this
Security
is
blanket.
probably, if I'm talking about strengths, blue line, goaltenders, bench, forwards, Brady Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk, Tim Stuck,
Huge.
Alexis Lafreniere, Lucas Raymond, and Drake Batherson. I have a bit of a potent mix of everything here. The one thing I would say, though, Steele, is just a surefire point production player because I did kind of go for coverage. However, I got
Mhm.
Adam Fox, Noah Dobson, Hero Heiskanen, and Harley. Little bit of a potent mix there as well. Saros and Gustafson in the cage. This is one of those situations, though, Steele, that a lot of GMs will be lucky to be in because this is a relatively shallow league. Not a lot of positions. There is a lot of targets out there. So you and I are obviously feeling good about our teams. However, that's not always going to be the case in deeper leagues. You're going to have to get a little bit grimy, but that's why you're tapped into the pod. We'll break down sleepers, under the radar targets, Banger League beauties, whatever you need, right here, Monday through Friday, baby.
Monday through Fridays, where you can find us. Right before I wrap this up, I've got Patrick Laine in my queue as this
Oh,
last pick. I think that's going to be a very sneaky player this season if he can stay healthy. Obviously, that's a huge part of his fantasy value. Needs to stay healthy, but the top six group in Montreal looks kind of scary out there. If you don't mind me
whoa,
saying that.
whoa! I do. I don't know about that, but okay.
Okay, I'm just saying that a lot of young talent up there. If he can stay healthy, he can get back to that 40 goal scoring potentially. Again, he's got to stay healthy, though. Big thing for Patrick Laine moving forward. But again, that's the second mock draft, Monday mock draft for this upcoming season. We've got so many more Monday mock drafts. We're going to finish our, we're going to continue doing top 10 breakdown, center position, positional top 10 breakdown, center, left wing, right wing, defenseman, everything that you need to know for this upcoming season. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Make sure you go check out and subscribe to the Locked On NHL Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And once again, from both Flip and I, we wish you good luck with all of your bets this fall. NFL, NHL, NBA, we couldn't be more pumped for the puck to drop at the start of October. And with that being said, we shall see you back here again tomorrow for another episode.
Peace.